means Carnival of Randomness, and I cannot even explain the epicness of this episode. We are on uncharted desert island. I don't know if it was when Gilligan was on. It might be, but it's the compound of Gothic Toad, who have graced us by their presence, or at least some of them. And you have to understand Gothic Toad. They were bigger than the Beatles. They were. Yeah, beetles are like, what's the biggest beetle, Zach? A dung beetle or a rhino beetle?
I'd say the Atlas beetle.
Some of these guys are kind of tall.
Yeah.
So they're much bigger than the Beatles.
Step on an Atlas
but
beetle.
Gothic Toad was one of those bands in the 80s. They influenced everybody, but the fame was too much for them. So they tried to block themselves out of this. I mean, Zach, think of your name. Zach. Z-A-C-K. 4 letters. T-O-A-D. You were named after him.
That's true. Everything.
But they've
And I have an A
decided
in
to
it,
talk
too.
to us.
Yeah.
And I'm very impressed. And here are the guys and their evil manager. Well, not evil. I won't say that. I don't want to vanish. But I've heard he made Peter Grant look like an angel. So, and he's finally come out from wherever
Let's just
he
say
is.
there's a reason you don't hear Fiona Apple anymore.
Yes.
She's a bitch.
And the first
And a
shot
rare
has been
public
fired.
appearance by their manager. They're in, of course, Rob and Jeff. And hello.
Hey, how we doing?
Yo.
Can you talk about a little about the origins?
Wow. Okay. I actually thought about this because I thought this question was going to come up, and by the way, I got to give Rob and Zach some credit because there's been a lot of publications and news organizations that have tried to.
Well, they've gotten it wrong.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely gotten the history wrong, but they've also tried to like get us together to tell our story, and either one of us has always said no, and we said hey, we're really not going to do this. I mean it was to the point where even ESPN 30 for 30 was going to like deviate from sports and do this.
I mean, you have to
Yeah.
because you made music a sport.
Well, we had to turn that down because we can't count to 30. So
Well, yeah, it was.
Or
that
your
was
bass
part of
player
it.
can't.
But I actually, so getting back to the question, I actually thought about this, and it came down. I was in a class in high school with Rob. I can't remember what it might have been, like social studies or math or one of these classes, and we were just you just sit next to some dude, right? And you sit next to me, we're sitting there, and we're just
we were both dudes.
Yeah, dudes at the time. Yeah, we transitioned out and transitioned back, so it was it's kind of we came full circle.
The metamorphosis was complete.
Yeah. And we were just talking music for some reason. It just came up. What do you like? And next thing he said, I play drums. Oh, yeah, I play guitar. And from there it just went. And in school, kids that kind of listen to the same stuff that you do, or kind of sort of listen to the same stuff. And we decided, hey, let's get together. Let's try to do something. And we recognized real early, though, like if we were going to do it, we needed to do it right. And most. You can stop me if I'm wrong on this, but most
Stop. Okay, continue.
All right, thanks. But most of these first bands or these garage bands or whatever, they just get together and they just jam. And we were like, all right, well, if we're going to do it, we need to make sure we have management. We needed to make sure we had a marketing department. We needed to make sure we had
Publicist.
the PR,
Hair and makeup lady.
Hair and makeup, yeah. Pat Budd definitely wanted that one. That was like this big thing to get him signed.
That spray tan was outrageous.
Yeah. Aquanet, holy crap.
No, stiff stuff.
Stiff, was that what it
Got
is?
it at Wegmans.
Okay.
That's not a joke, by the way. That's
That's
real.
what makes it funnier.
So we had all of the infrastructure before we even played like Note 1.
Yeah, true.
So
We had our ducks in a row before we were Toad. We had the ducks.
Yeah, all the lily pads were lined up.
Yeah.
We were good to go.
And being in the management end of this, I mean, being a talentless prick like I am, I mean, I was good with money. I mean, I was a bookie in high school before I even met you guys. So, I mean, that was a perfect fit for me to just walk right in and take over that role. I mean, and the bookings end of it was easy. I mean, you guys pretty much booked yourself. I mean, once word got out, it was just
Where
the
did
easiest.
the name come from? Because the name is legendary.
Yeah, that was Mike Sheldon came up with that one.
The guy that's not here?
Yeah, the guy. Yeah,
Okay.
So Mike, one of the, I talked on one of the podcasts about how I broke up the band, couldn't deal with the paparazzi, the pressure. I just wanted to be me and just focus on the music, and I couldn't deal with all these people following me from class to class. I mean, yeah, they were my classmates, but come on, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
But you knew there was something
There
beyond
was
that.
something else. Everybody wanted something. I can't begin
Especially
to
the
tell.
nuns.
Oh, The nuns.
The nuns.
The nuns I could deal with. It was the brothers that were like,
Yeah.
really? Like, I'm not going that way, but hey, whatever.
Kept dropping their pencils.
Yeah. Like, Jeff,
Well,
pick
you
that
have to
up.
understand,
It's
for me,
bizarre.
because of our last names, my locker was next to Mike's, and I would get overzealous fans who would come and stuff underwear in my locker thinking it was his.
No, that
Some of the
happens to
girls
us.
even would do it.
Right. Yeah.
And they would lick the locker, or they would steal my books, or like rip pieces out of it thinking they were Mike's.
That was the name of one of our unreleased songs, Lick the Locker.
Yeah.
That was a great cut. I don't know why it never got released.
Say, hey, Rolling Stone, where you at on this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, they tried, but Mike came up with the name. He just wanted something. He wanted something that had like a classic like feel to it, but then also had like this like down in the swamp kind of vibe, because that's kind of where the music was coming from, and it's kind of what he went with.
From
And
the
we were-
depths.
Yeah, and we were all like, yeah, it's cool. We were cool. We could deal with it.
The legendary first gig.
Well, first time we played together or first gig?
Doesn't matter. You guys talk whatever you want to be about. This is an honor.
Well, the first time we played together it was Rob's basement. You know, we all got our stuff, and nobody heard anybody play. And
Fortunately.
yeah, definitely, because I think.
You couldn't have handled it.
Well, I think what would have happened if everybody knew how everybody played, there would have just been solo acts. You know, and you wouldn't have had Gothic Toad.
We would have broken up the band before it
Before
started,
the
gone
band,
straight
yeah.
to solo albums.
Right.
All the management in place.
Yeah.
So
No, we're breaking.
So Dave did a nice job. Make sure here's the here's the time. Here's where we're going to be. You know, Rob's parents for saints for tolerating us.
They even made the basement look like a swamp. I mean, really, we flooded it.
Yep.
And did all sorts of greenery.
Sorry about that toilet. I mean, after all these years.
Well, I think he turned off the sump pump, made sure all that. Yeah, it was
waited
cool.
for it to rain incessantly, and yeah.
But the one thing that really stood out to me is, so everybody's kind of showing up, and it was like the one time that Sheldon actually showed up on time, right? Because he's typically late for everything. But the person that was late was Ron Stein, and you know, we're waiting. We're like, dude, he's the singer, right? And by the way,
Lead singer's disease.
singer, never heard him, but he comes barreling around the corner, right up onto the lawn, slams the car, comes in, he goes, guys, what are you waiting for? Let's go. I'm like, well, we're like, don't you need to warm up? He goes, I don't warm up. We're like, okay. So we sit
Attitude
down.
immediately.
Yeah, we sit down. And by the way, when he gets out of the car, like McDonald's bags fall out,
Yeah.
sodas, all this stuff.
Beer bottles, all sorts of stuff.
I mean, he grabs the mic and he just lays into one, and we just all I just remember like all of a sudden we're looking, we're like, oh my god, it's like
His pipes. He had pipes.
it was.
Oh,
like,
he still got him.
had
It
the
was
pipes.
like the angels came down from heaven. I've never heard anybody sing it. And then he just stops. He's like, "Are you guys gonna play?" And we're like, "Oh my god, like, dude, that was awesome." He goes, "Dude, I just belched. What the hell? Let's go." And we're like, "That's how good he was, though, man."
He belched in tune. I forget what key it was in, but it was.
It was. I mean, we're like, we should have recorded that.
I call that
We should have recorded
It
that.
never happened again.
Never again.
Del
He's-
Taco in F sharp.
I mean, he was, and the thing is to Dave's credit, as soon as he did that, I mean, Dave's grabbing the yellow pages, and you know that's like in the '80s. That's our version of Google, and he's like looking.
It's the
shit,
internet made of trees.
Yeah, he's looking shit up, and immediately calls a guy up, and like trademarks the voice. So he was known as the voice, and to this day, like.
Anytime Ron speaks, Dave gets a cut.
Oh,
Dave gets
absolutely.
a cut. But every time that stupid fucking show's on TV, Ron Stein's making a shit ton of money because he's the voice. I mean, everybody. I mean,
It pays to know publishing back then when we were teenagers, and somebody was very smart.
Well, yeah, now he's tucked away in his mountain enclave, and it's
He's
hard
doing-
to get him out. You know, he's just
Yeah.
happy down there just getting mailbox money.
That's
You
it.
know, it's,
I mean, but you think about it. I mean, it was he was that good, and you know,
I think he went to that special class Sister Margaret Mary had about music publishing, the music business, how to own your own songs and belches. And I'm pretty sure that's why he's rich.
yeah, it
See,
could be.
kids, stay in school.
But
Yeah.
but smart guy, and I feel bad for him. The guy's been accused of being the reason why Led Zeppelin can't get back together. I mean,
I heard that too.
Robert Plant's like, I can't compete with that. I'm not like, forget it. I'm done.
Yeah.
And
Steve Perry too.
To deal with
I've
that
heard
pressure.
stories about a lot of bands. That's why the singers quit, though, because they don't say it. They make an excuse. There's friction. But behind the backs of everybody, the real story is
It's always Ron Stein.
it's Ron Stein.
Yeah.
All roads go back to Ron.
Oh, yes.
Well, what's funny is, I mean, he's still involved in music. He's, behind the scenes.
Well, he does security, which means he doesn't have to sing. Because if he had to sing, his artist that he was securing would run in fear.
I heard a story.
Exactly.
Now, I don't know if this is true
But
or
is
not.
it actually security, or is he like mentoring?
Well,
these
he's
people?
creating insecurity if he opens his mouth, which is why he's
Oh, yeah,
I
no,
heard
no,
a story
yes,
one
yeah.
time that he was doing security. I don't know who the band was, who the singer was, but they asked him to check the mic, and he wouldn't do it because he knew
Yeah.
that if he sung,
yeah,
the band would just break up.
run in fear.
Well, that's why he had to change his whole look. I mean, because now he's almost unrecognizable compared to the old days. I mean,
Correct.
And otherwise he wouldn't get hired.
Well-
yeah, I mean, he did probably take it the hardest when I broke the band up.
Doesn't Toad
and
change its appearance? Toads change appearance over time, or
they do?
that?
do.
I think Ron is the epitome of changing his spots or warts or.
Now he just paints over them.
But
Well, I could do
yeah.
that
I mean, but having to live with that
It's a big responsibility.
massive responsibility of like the voice.
Yeah.
I mean, he did whatever he could to just kind of be a normal person, and
Yeah.
so far it's working out for him. Thank God.
Well, he had this way. He had moved to Nashville, so right there.
Yeah, but I don't get that. Like I don't want to be recognized. I don't.
But I moved
that-
to Music
But I
City.
moved to Music City.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
he
right.
can't. You're trying to get away from it, but you run to
True.
it.
Well, sometimes hiding in plain sight is the best.
Like
way to
losing
do
your
it.
car
thing.
keys.
You
Correct.
know what? Didn't
Yeah.
think of that one.
But
But speaking, the most mysterious member of your group is Mike Sheldon. I've heard rumors that he even was selling tacos on a street corner in Vietnam.
Now I can probably shed a little more light on this. Mike has met with some very hard times. Codependency has been the story of his life. I mean, for years he was in rehab trying to get over his addiction to Twizzlers, and he was succeeding with that. But I kind of take a little responsibility for Mike's downfall. It all goes back to that show in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where you guys were on that big bill with, I think it was Air Supply, Christopher Cross, Ambrosia.
The Muppets were headlining.
Dude, I
No,
remember that.
actually, it was the Atlanta Rhythm section was the headliner.
Oh, right.
And
Christopher Cross was a crazy motherfucker, man.
that son of a
That
bitch.
guy, man. Holy shit.
I think he still owes me a couple bucks.
Well, that's why they call him "Don't Ever Cross Christopher Cross."
Well, anyways, after your sound check, you guys were all hanging out and doing your thing, but Mike went missing, and so I went back to the hotel to try and find him. And as I walked into his room, it was a real disturbing sight. I've never told you guys this, and I don't know how you're going to take it, but there he was on his bed, butt ass naked, with a Miss Piggy hand puppet, a jar of peanut butter, and he was listening to Nicolette Larson.
Wow.
And with a picture of Christy McNichol taped to his TV, abusing himself.
Oh man.
And so right then I knew there was a problem, and I'm getting
knew that.
emotional just talking about this.
I know, actually, I have to say, I met Ozzy Osbourne and Keith
destroyed.
Richards because of him. Because I was backstage
Dude,
at one
I'm
of your
never
gigs.
going to remove that vision from my head.
Now I
now.
was backstage at one of your gigs, and who I see, Ozzy Osbourne and Keith Richards have combined to try to do an intervention for Mike Sheldon.
There was no help.
And
for
Ozzy
that
said,
one.
No.
Yeah.
man,
No.
he's fucked up.
Well, I think it all started because on stage and probably at the first practice, and I don't know who takes responsibility for that, but we soon learned because he was so good on the bass, we had to turn his volume all the way off. And I don't think he ever recovered from that.
Well, I mean, he'd hit those strings so hard. It's like, dude, you don't even need an amp. You
Right.
don't need an amp.
And I think that sent him into years of depression and thus all
Yeah.
the things David mentioned.
Well,
I mean,
I just to give everybody a quick update on him. He has been getting help for his strange sex addiction, and he was doing well. He's out in Yorba Linda, California, at a small facility, and he's doing quite well for himself there. Well, he was until recently. he had a setback. As you know, most of us have had a little stint in rehab, and he, when you're in there, you get a little lonely, and relationships happen, and he got kind of hooked up with a toe sucker, and that set him back.
Oh.
He,
But I heard it had to be a chick that looked like Christy McNichol.
well, yeah, absolutely, with that.
Was
Bob
it
Eric-
Christy McNichol?
No, no,
Bad.
no.
I mean, you're in a room. You know those crappy magazines that show up on, like we've talked about this before. The magazines you see when you check out at the supermarket.
Yeah, yeah.
I would see Mike Sheldon with Christy McNichol.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
right
dude,
next to like Teen Beat or something.
Teen Beat. I think Teen Beat followed him around all the
Yeah,
time.
I think so.
It was crazy.
His doctors just gave me the update, and he did have another setback, and he, as of last week, he was seen chasing a nurse down the hallway dressed as Cookie Monster. So he's gone full furry, and they think it'll be another probably 2 to 3 months before he can get out again. But there's hope.
Not Cookie Monster.
Yeah, he had the chef's hat on and everything.
That's a dark path.
Yeah, there's hope.
Well, he did go off the rails. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he did that before Ozzy Roll Crazy Train. He went off the rails first.
He did. Break the band up, and he still wanted to play. And I heard at one point, he was playing with Helen Reddy, and him and Helen Reddy were like, forget it. I mean, they would tear down a bar, and next thing you know, Mike's People magazine or one of those fucking things, and
Yeah,
he's got Twizzlers, a bag of Twizzlers with him.
Oh,
and-
he still
and,
had that
you know,
addiction
he
going on.
still had
Yeah.
it, man. He just couldn't get. I mean, there was something about those Twizzlers. I don't know what it was.
I think
The
that was
red dye,
before
maybe.
he switched over to whatchamacallit bars. Or
Could've
was it
been-
afterwards?
I don't know. Was that before or after? I mean, it was hard, like to get him to show up.
And the worst part
we'd
was-
have to have the stuff there for him.
And maybe
so
they
we
didn't mean it. Maybe
enabled
they
him.
didn't
No
mean
brown
it.
M&Ms, though.
Brown it,
otherwise.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
fans would throw this stuff on stage to him too.
Yeah.
Which didn't help.
Well, he couldn't play the bass because the Twizzlers were hitting the strings, which is why we had to turn him down. That just ruined it right there.
And he had that chocolate all over his fingers. It was
Yeah,
just
slippery.
getting ugly.
Very slippery.
Yeah, and next thing you know, I mean, it was fine when when you're messed up like that, and you're playing and you're performing, it was good. But I've known Mike longer than anybody,
Sorry to hear
and
that, by the way.
yeah, I know.
My condolences.
But you see him start heading down that path, and it was like I couldn't deal with it. I'm like, dude, this is gonna end tragically.
Well, you've
Like,
heard of
you're
the
gonna end it-
27 Club, right? All these
Yeah.
guys that died,
Yeah, yeah.
Jim Morrison, Janis
Yeah.
Joplin.
Yeah.
Well, with Mike, he wanted to get a head start, so he was going to do 10 years earlier to join the 17 Club.
I did hear that. He did make mention to something about that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why, subconsciously I broke the band up.
You get credit or blame for so many things, though. One of the things you mentioned there at the 27 Club, I've heard a lot of people have said grunge because of Gothic Toad.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they both start with G.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey,
No, we hear that.
I mean, it's not just coincidence.
Enough said.
We
Yeah.
heard that we were the start of the whole grunge revolution, and Kurt Cobain really, really, really wanted to be like us, and
Yep.
had a hard time trying to
He
live
ripped
up to
Ron
the
off. I mean,
Well, he tried.
tried.
Smelled like
Yeah.
smelled like teen anxiety, if you ask me.
Yeah, but it smelled like Teen Toad. I think that's what it was
There you
originally.
go.
Smelled like the swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess I take credit for bringing Dave Grohl to the world. I mean, he's done a good job.
Yeah.
He's kind of lived up to the expectations.
Grohl starts with G, too.
Exactly.
So
It all comes back to the Toads.
it's a big triumvirate of the letter G.
Yeah.
but what stands out? Some of your gigs is something because I remember.
Gig starts with G.
Yeah,
There's 4.
See, and I've heard you guys are really excessive because of your manager on tour about your demands. That you were sort of known as really.
Dave would know a lot of that. Dave would know more of that. I mean, we were just living the moment.
Yeah, they
how
would
brief
show
it
up.
was. But
I handled a lot of that stuff, and I didn't think they were prima donnas at all. I mean, it was pretty simple. They'd ask for Diet Coke. They'd get Diet Coke. They want to wear white togas on stage. I made sure that they were pressed. Clean, bleached, and looking good. The hardest part was hair products. That was by far the hardest part. And we went to every beauty salon in every town and just cleaned them out, and it was tough.
We had anvil cases full of that. More than instruments, we had hair products.
Yeah, one guitar and 3 cases of Aquanet and stiff stuff.
it.
But was there a moment for you where you decided, I can't do this anymore, and you had to break it up? You were just too good for the music world?
Well, when famous people started coming to our gigs and weeping, that was it. We couldn't ruin their lives. I mean, it just was too much for them. And out of the goodness of our heart and because we all went to a Catholic school, we were good people, and our conscience got the better of us. And it's like, we're ruining. I mean, Yngwie came once, and he put his guitar down and turned it into a coffee table and said, never again. And, after that, I think Jeff just felt sorry for him.
I mean, it was April 5th, 1986. I'll remember the day. I'll never forget it. April 5th, 1986. I woke up, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And it was great. Our success, and it was fun. Considering we started February 3rd, 1986.
Ah, it's a great day. It would be my birthday.
Well, so the 3rd and April we were done, and it was. I mean, that's how bright the star was. I mean, they would say, right?
But the brightest ones, phase out the quickest too. Sometimes.
And it was just. I remember so that was the day it broke the band up. The day prior, I'm at school, and you can't get into the locker. You can't get into the parking lot because all these other people are there. You're going into your classroom, and all these other people are. I mean, it was like people everywhere.
Lunch was impossible.
Like all I want to do is get some French fries, and I got to stand in a line.
Right.
Like, what's up with that?
What's up with lines?
Yeah.
I think that's caused a thing for you. You won't stand in line since then.
Well,
no, I will not. Will not do it.
Still can't do it.
Won't do it. You go to some bar and there's a line and people are standing in line to get in a bar. Like, what's the point? Like, really? Like, the bar across the street's got beer. Let's go to that bar.
Right.
And I think it all circles back to the experiences with Gothic Toad.
But if you notice, bad things about lines, there's no G in line.
There is not. And that's why we still
That's why we avoid them.
You see?
Yeah.
It's all coming together now.
It makes perfect sense.
And you would see, when you were out, people would just follow you on the streets.
Yeah.
Still do, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. For different reasons.
Yeah, I think look, I had, I talked with Rob, I talked with Ron, I talked with Pat, I talked with Mike. I'm like, do we really want to do this? I mean, it's been well over 30 years. Do we want to do we want to bring, peel the scab and create this issue and people start learning about us some more? Next thing do we really want to go down
What's
this road?
Amazing is how you manage to keep, I think you patrol the web every day because somebody will find it. And I remember, Zach, I heard your parents found a copy of, what was the first album?
Oh, the first one, which I've heard, many rumors will be remastered, Il Nomine Padre e Spiritus Totus. And
forgot about that one.
Yeah, and now that with the Catholic school, it all makes perfect sense. And out of the goodness of the hearts, and there was one copy of it, and then
my attorney stopped that.
Yeah, for some reason, the next day it was gone.
Yeah.
You should see these on the black market, though.
Yeah,
I mean, which you could literally.
I mean, you have to go on the dark web.
I've got a division of people that search the dark web.
Dave checks all this, doesn't he?
Yeah, I wouldn't buy any because it's not what you think it is.
That's correct.
It's
not worth the headache.
No.
I think they're only on sale at the Vatican bookstore, by the way, since it has something to do with being a Catholic school and stuff. So.
And
look at this! Look who shows!
Oh.
Hey,
Oh my God!
How do you get out of rehab, man?
Hey, is little time with me or no time with me?
Yes. Oh my God! It's Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by...
It's a good thing we're done talking about him already.
Right.
But this is speak over here by the mic.
Absolutely.
This is the legendary bassist.
Well,
The one, the only.
How the hell did they get you out of rehab to get here, man?
took a few steps. My publicist said that I shouldn't make one of these today, so better late than never. My apologies for being.
You don't have any Twizzlers with you, man. We talked about your addiction to Twizzlers already.
How you doing?
Good, man.
But it's amazing that, this is so rare. This is rarer than Halley's Comet.
This is the first time 3 out of the 4 have been in the same room in 30 years.
I know. I can
this is-
feel the electricity.
Yeah. So much electricity
But
that this
give
may
me,
fail.
explain from your thing, the Gothic Toad experience?
Oh, I didn't want to jump in. I didn't know what topic you guys were discussing, but
Well, they can talk about whatever they want. They're Gothic Toad. It's so just talk about the experience of the band.
Exactly. Well, I went down some dark paths after the breakup that Jeff caused, and
It's all back to Jeff.
it is. He
No
takes
G in
blame
Jeff.
for it. He
Well,
owns
it
it.
can be. But not
I
for
look.
him.
I will own it. I will take the blame
owns
for
it.
it. But I did it for your well-being, man.
Well, it didn't work out that way because
I didn't know that.
did some crazy stuff.
That's what I heard, man.
Went on the road with Helen Reddy.
She actually did turn up your bass.
Yes, she did. She did not turn down.
She gave you volume.
Yes. Did a stint with Gordon Lightfoot. You don't want to go out with him. We were in some dark places with Gordon. So
He's a crazy Canadian.
yeah, and
I've heard the rumor in Spinal Tap that when they're playing at the airport, Nigel takes his guitar and slams it. That was based on you not being able to hear your bass.
true. Well, there were guys that they didn't want me. Not that they didn't want to hear me, but I didn't want to overpower the rest of the talent, which was far superior. Yeah.
I didn't hear that one.
No, we talked about it, man. You'd hit the string so hard, it's like, dude, just turn the amp off. Just turn it off.
You
Like,
really did not need amplification.
Just my stage presence alone was
Mind-numbing.
Well, as I said, having the locker next year could be hell because I know the stuff that. And I have to say, one time, I met Duran one time. I was actually at their concert. We had a hotel by them, and we met them, and they actually tried to hook us up. And I'm like, hey, I was by Mike Sheldon's locker in high school. No need.
That's right. I bragged about it. Locker mate for 4 years at Cardinal Mooney.
Well, my locker mate was Nancy Mosca, and she always had pictures of who I thought at the time in the Union Jack tank top and shorts was Joe Elliott. But now that I think with a clearer mind, because the fame and the haze is gone now,
Stephen Piercy.
no, she took a picture of you and superimposed it on top of Joe's face. Now, that was pre-Photoshop back then.
I want to hear, so Dave told us a pretty disturbing story about you when we were on tour.
Disturbing?
Yeah. So when we were on tour, the Chris Christopherson tour, and he found you in the hotel room with a Miss Piggy doll and a picture of Nicole Sheridan on the
Christy
TV.
McNichol.
No, it was Christy McNichol.
Yes.
I think Bud was in the Nicole Sheridan.
I'm like, what the?
Cranking Nicolette Larson.
Yes.
Like, what the hell, dude?
Well, it was
And you
like
wonder
I
why I
said,
broke up the band.
There were some dark places that I went to, man, and
It was dark. You didn't even have the light on.
oh no, I didn't want anybody to see me.
Well, I saw more than I needed to, believe me.
Dave, how you been, man? I haven't
Well,
seen you in a
I'm
long time.
recovering from that still. It's
This traumatized you for life. If
Yeah.
something like this happened.
I'm doing good. I just got my degree from DeVry University, and I was recently promoted at work to the Grill. So things are going well.
The other thing I've also heard,
Things are going well.
I
for
heard
me.
they started the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to induct you guys, and you refused them.
Correct.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's not a rumor. That's true.
We all have to be in agreement. Ron and Pat, unfortunately, aren't on board with that yet. So,
Well, we take turns disagreeing.
yes.
I think it's Jeff's turn next month.
Well, they want you to perform there too,
Not
so that's
happening.
a problem.
No. Well, the problem with that, I mean, we kind of talked about when we were talking about Ron. I mean, he's the voice, right? So
Before there was the voice.
the voice,
Correct.
and if we were to perform at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
You'd have to get your own wing.
and Ron started singing, they'd take every band down.
Yeah.
Like they would all get pulled, and you'd have this building, it'd say Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then they'd have another one that would probably be about 4 or 5 times the size.
Well, no, I
and it
heard
would just
that-
be the Gothic Toad lair.
I heard that what they would do is basically annex Akron for the
That-
wing.
You did
Probably
yeah,
need
maybe.
the
I've
whole
heard
city.
that.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, I know people out there. There's been rumblings in the Rock and
NFL
Roll Hall of Fame
going
community.
with it.
I think Ron got mad. I'll take part of the responsibility because about 3 years ago I played there with Lou Graham for a corporate gig, and I believe Ron found out about that, and that was the end.
Oh boy.
Because I did it before him, and that was part of the whole lead singer's disease I was talking about earlier. And
Is that why he shot it down that way?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. Yeah.
I mean, they ask every year. Every year.
I've heard
Every
wacky
year.
rumors, Sean. Now, you guys, is one of you the dad of Miley Cyrus?
How'd you find that out?
You're not going to say who it is, though, are you?
I think that best be unresolved.
Not until paternity test
They-
comes out.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody's willing to write those checks just yet.
I've also heard, and they know that you guys are Steelers fans, most of you, except for the manager who's a Jets fan. And they've also offered, I've heard the Steelers offer, if you guys play one concert at Heinz Field, they'll fire Mike Tomlin.
Oh, well, we'll be there tomorrow.
So finally, the key to reuniting Gothic Toad may be...
Nope, still won't do it.
Oh,
See, that's the problem. There's always the one...
always
no,
one
man,
of us. Well, we take turns
I've-
declining all the time.
And you'd be for firing Mike Tomlin.
Look, I'm the biggest vocal on firing a guy. I think he should have been gone like 4 or 5 years ago, but
It's not going to happen.
no, man, I'm not doing it, and it's not happening.
Well, we have to use denial for Toad for specific purposes, and we can't dilute it just for a football team we like.
It's
Yeah.
not a luxury.
It's
Well,
not a luxury.
I was out with Michaela Davis last week, and they did a Ziggy Stardust tribute show, and it turns out, like, young people her age in her band, her mom, Heidi, was probably a groupie, is probably just about 90% of the people her generation were, and they wanted to do a tribute show, but I've told her, you won't
Tribute
let
to
it,
Toad?
yeah, you won't let it happen.
It's hard to tribute Toad
Yeah, I
because
mean-
it just never will live up to the original experience.
I agree with that. You hear, like the Eagles got back together. Hell Freezes Over tour. It was all for money, right? Like you're either for the music or you're not. And we recognize the impact that our music had. We also recognize what our impact caused, positive and negatively, and we just don't want to
Inflict that again.
Yeah, we
Well,
just
I
don't
heard.
want
I
it,
also
so we're
heard like
not
that
doing
they
it.
didn't even that you were banned from Ozfest even if you wanted to because they'd be afraid you'd upstage, like Iron Maiden upstaged.
Well, Sharon
Sharon-
Osbourne was going to throw eggs at us.
Oh,
Not just Maiden.
Hold on. So let's be honest about this whole Sharon Osbourne and Ozfest and all that stuff. The big reason for that. I mean, yeah, we didn't want to do it, but the big reason.
Not the big little reason.
No, not
The
the
big
the
reason.
big.
Okay.
Yeah, the big, and it's like font 42 big.
That's big.
Like Sharon wanted to learn from Dave. It was just to be close to Dave and figure out his
Steal all
management
his
style.
moves.
Yeah, the management style.
I see. All this time, I thought she learned it from her dad, who was
No.
a big time mob boss manager, and now we find out all these years later it was Dave.
Well, yeah, can I do?
I think it was the golf club intimidation factor. I believe.
So wait a minute. You got into managing a band because you were a bookie in high school. And that's a brilliant move because now you get all these groupies that increases your pool of people that you can take bets from. I mean, the amount of money that Dave made
Off our backs.
off our backs. I
Jeez.
mean, hey, more power because Dave did well for us, so I'm not upset with Dave having some side
for
piece
it.
on the
That's great.
But I mean, he revolutionized managing a band. There was no merchandising sales before Dave. There was no stage,
Well,
shows before Dave.
people don't remember. We actually had a website before websites, and we were selling merch, and we had Dave Blodgett autographed bookie.
Harley sheet.
My
yeah,
old
Harley
betting
sheets.
sheets.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big seller.
Yeah,
It was a really big seller. Yeah.
that was the only thing we had.
I was gonna say too.
Al
we talked
Gore
about-
called him up. Website. What's this website thing?
I
Guys,
knew
how do we
it.
get this
Dave
set up?
invented the internet.
Oh, I don't. I'm not. I don't like to take all the credit for that.
He let Al Gore have that.
We've sort of gone around. What does like a gigs now a show you actually played stand out, and for what reason?
Well, first of all, we had to learn to stand out because I stayed in the same spot because I played drums. These guys stood behind me. And then I said, you have to stand out. So I forget what was the first stand out show. Where you actually stood out.
What was that one?
Was that the 100 Days show?
It might have been.
Could have been.
It might have been the first one, the 100 Days.
It could have
Yeah, I
been.
think
Or was it the
was.
101 Day show?
No, because because the comment you made about us being in front of you was made when we moved from the basement to the garage, and we hung out in the back. And you're like, "Yeah, you're behind me, and all the sound's going forward. You guys got to be in the front because you're not hearing my drum." Yeah, it
Correct.
I mean,
Perfect
I've
sense,
heard
perfect
stories when you played at the lodge that your dad got bookings for like 20 years after that because people were back that they wanted to come there so much, but then they were stealing stuff because they figured, oh, Gothic Toad sat here.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody
I mean,
stole the toilet seats.
I give my father credit for letting us play there because it's probably a place that could fit, at least 10 people.
Or 11, something like that.
Yeah, and then we clearly, I think we had like 8 that day.
We were close to the limit.
Yeah. And then the next thing you know, people would show up for some wedding or party or something, and
Steal the forks and stuff.
he'd be like, "I'm missing a chair."
I saw it.
Who the fuck steals a chair? But they'd steal a chair.
I saw it on eBay. Toilet seats sat on by members of Gothic Toad from the lodge.
Not
And
shocked.
you pulled it down.
Yeah. No, not shocked.
That was only up there for an hour. I think that was the
Yeah,
longest.
no shit.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, that's true.
Well, didn't your dad have to go to instead of using real silverware because it kept disappearing, to just having people eat with their fingers at this point, I think?
He did. No, it got to the point. He actually ended up selling the business because he just couldn't keep up with purchasing inventory. I mean, it was the expense alone. So I feel, we put a
Put your
viable
dad out of
business
business.
out of business.
Wow.
Just for playing there.
Were we sued, Dave, by Jeff's dad for that?
Well, he reached out to me, and I made it right.
Okay.
I tried to take care of him. I offered to run to Wegmans and buy him as many plastic sporks as possible, but he said he would be okay. So I offered him. I took care of it. I reached into my bookie money and
Got him a toilet seat.
The other
Yeah.
rumor I wanted to dispel or give credence to is I've heard, because you're into cycling, that they've been wanting to design a model Gothic Toad cycle for years. I don't know which company, but something or.
Yeah, there's been a couple. Harley approached me. I think Indian approached Mike.
Schwinn.
You talked to Schwinn?
I
Really?
talked to Schwinn.
Okay.
It had to have a bell and a basket on it.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, but were they talking with the basket? Did it have like tassels on it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, at least they approached you like it's the right starting point.
did
Right.
they have the custom name license plate on the back under the seat?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And I
It's
heard
gonna be
the
an added,
deluxe edition came with a pack of baseball cards and a couple of clothespins.
And some
Yes.
drumsticks and guitar picks.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
I mean, Harley couldn't figure out the problem I had with Harley. They couldn't figure out how to have the clothespin with the playing card on the spokes, and it would stay.
Yeah.
At those speeds, yeah.
They just couldn't figure out the engineering. So
Yeah,
they
we told him to
kinda
take a
fell apart.
hike. Yeah. Garbage.
That big yellow orange flag on the back.
That too.
Yeah.
Well,
Classic-
the whole
classic
Harley
look.
logo was stolen from Toad, and that's another issue we had with them.
We wouldn't go there.
Yeah, we don't want to go
color
there.
schemes, everything. Yeah.
And you just go like normal citizens. Like, say you go to Iron Maiden, you're afraid Bruce or any of them are going to see you and try to drag you on stage.
Go in disguise. We have to. I go as Mike. I think Mike goes as Jeff.
Yes.
You want a really good? Here's a really good story. And I think so. We started February 3rd, and I want to say it was probably by February 9th, maybe. We get a phone call. Actually, Rob's parents get this phone call, and we're down in the basement, and we're playing away, fiddling on our stuff, and Rob's mom's like, "Mike, phone call. Mike, phone call." I'm like, "Who the hell's calling you?" He's like, "I don't know." He goes upstairs. Who the hell knows I'm here, right? He comes downstairs and like, "Guys, man, I got a choice to make here." I'm like, "Well, what, dude? What is the deal?" Steve Harris was on the phone, and apparently he heard about us and he heard about me, and he's willing to step away from Iron Maiden for me to go into the band because he thinks I'll be able to take him to the next level. And we're like, "Wow, man, that's pretty cool." And he's like, "Yeah, I told him to fuck off." I mean,
Well, you had to.
Yeah, I mean,
had to.
so
We saved Iron Maiden.
we actually
Mike
we kinda
saved
did.
Iron Maiden.
Well, we actually Mike probably actually in the long run saved himself.
Well,
If
that
you
too.
think about it,
You have to save yourself
In the
first
be-
before you can save
In the
others.
beginning, but then, like I said, it didn't go that route for long.
Yeah, I mean, so there was a point where Mike was almost in Iron Maiden.
Well, I think it was the regret of telling him to go F himself that drove Mike into despair for years.
I've heard the ramifications of the ban stretch all over. Like, for example, New York. I've heard a lot of the onerous taxes and fees on businesses was try to get your royalties.
Yeah,
Dave would know that better than us, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cuomo's got his hand in everybody's pocket, and ours is no exception. I mean, he's constantly trying. He tried to get the Toad on the I Love New York logo, and I said absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Well, Jeff would be a natural for that. We know his love.
He's the spokesperson for New York tourism.
Well, we're not going to sell our image, our music,
Likenesses.
anything
Or unlikenesses.
for any type of money. We're not going to do it. We're not
Not whores.
right.
Well, Just like George Bush stole our slogan, not gonna do it. George stole that from us. That was our motto right from the beginning. I think Brother Raymond taught us that very early on.
I mean, we should at one point sit down and try to
What
do
else did
like
Brother
a
Raymond
Gothic
teach you?
Toad
How to bend
tree-
over and pick up a pencil.
family tree
Where's that Brother
of
Lawrence?
all the things we've impacted. Right?
Well, you need. It would be easier to do what you haven't impacted. You know, and that
It would be shorter.
It would be
Yeah,
shorter
no, it would
because
definitely
otherwise
be
you
shorter.
need
Yeah.
a lot of paper.
But if you, if we sat back and said, okay, here's the day we started, and all the things that have happened after we started.
I mean,
Man.
and
We
if
would
you
blow
did
a
it-
hole into reality. 'cause
I mean,
can't
if you
handle
did
it.
it ancestry style,
I
there'd be
have-
3 additional
It would
servers
be
just
like
for.
reaching the end of the internet.
I have heard rumors,
Control
though,
our destiny.
you may authorize us a little bit to go ahead with your help to actually do shirts.
Well,
That's just the beginning.
right.
We have other big
But I've
plans.
also heard to avoid the taxes, you were going to incorporate in heaven.
Well, that's
So
true.
then you would be branded a religion and thus tax free.
That's
or
right.
tax exempt.
Right.
Well, the
So
toad is a religion. I mean,
Well, yeah,
it's-
true.
We actually
it's
are.
really
I
a
mean,
religion.
There's more than 15 people. That is
Yeah.
your congregation.
Correct.
We are bigger than the Catholic Church.
Right. And
yeah, the
that's saying
Pope's
a
got
lot.
nothing on us.
Yeah, I mean, Pope Mobile. Come on, man. You get the Toad car.
Toad card, correct. Yeah.
Brilliant green.
Would you give any advice to young musicians then? Just, is it worth it?
Well,
I mean, they look at Mike and they go, hell no, it's not worth it.
depends on which one of us you look at, I think. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, if you're passionate about it, you want to do it, and you understand the pitfalls that can come along, and you have the maturity to not fall into them, go for it. Do it, right? But understand that sometimes what you want it's not necessarily what you really needed.
And I know Dave, too. How many bands have ever reached out to you to have you manage them and just say no?
My phone rings constantly to this day. Just the other day, I got one of those K-pop bands reached out to me. Unfortunately, I don't speak Korean, so that was a short conversation.
It could
but
be difficult.
but I turn them down constantly because nobody can match the brilliance of the Toad.
Yeah. And you're still making so much money off us. that
Well, yeah,
You don't need
of
any
course.
But don't you get any, like, some of these egomaniacs, and you'll get them, and they'll think they're great, and you're not Ron Stein.
Well, I constantly get music in the mail, I email, and everybody wants me to listen to their stuff, but I just can't do it. I mean, I listen to it.
Well, most of it's still sent on 8 tracks, which I think might be hindering things for you.
Well, yeah.
Don't knock the 8-track. That's coming back.
Yeah. Only it's one better now. It's going to be
9-track.
Yeah.
9-track, yeah. Well, I mean, it'll sound really good in the car. Got to
Yes.
figure out how to get that 9-track player in there.
Yeah.
I never had one like there. Because you're
What's interesting though is tonight's the Grammys, right?
Yeah, we're boycotting.
which you were nominated
But
for, but you
Ron will be
refused.
there. Ron will be at the Grammys.
Yes. As
So-
himself, the security
So
guy, not the singer.
yeah, he's going as I'm using air quotes here, security. But what he actually does, I mean, and it serves a purpose for the band is
He's peddling
he's
tapes.
he's there making sure.
He's going to laugh at Alicia Keys. Who are we kidding? Yeah, I mean,
But,
Well, he's wiping everybody's hard drive clean of Toad music. So
that's it. He's making sure that nothing gets out.
Right.
Like he's the front. He's like one of the frontline defenses.
Well, we set the example for bands like Tool. They don't release their library online to buy, and
Well, think about it. I mean, Tool tried. They tried. They're at 12 years before coming out with their next album, but they're
got 'em by a mile.
But they can't live up to us. Like this is the year you keep hearing it's coming out. Because they just they're quitting. Like they tapped out. They can't do it.
Well, I wondered, like, for your kids sometimes, you'll hear them playing music and saying that's great, and you ever, like, played them a track, you just keep it away from them because you figure that's going to ruin their taste forever because all they want is that.
Well, the problem with that is if I played my sons the Toad music, it would send them in a weird state where I'd have to give them vaccinations for the rest of their lives. And I'm against any of that stuff. And we won't get into the science here right now. But
My concern. So my one son's going to be a chemical engineer. My other kid's really fascinated with physics, and if I play that music for him, I'm afraid I'm going to create like the next version of Breaking Bad in my house. And I just like no.
You definitely don't want some stuff to get out about you.
Breaking Toad.
no, that would ruin all 3 of my kids. I kind of.
But what did you ever do if your kid comes home and he's eating a Twizzler?
Oh,
It is
God.
genetic, dude. It is genetic.
Don't-
Yeah, you really got to be
best-
careful
That
about
red
that.
dye.
Especially on Halloween, ever since they
Yes.
were little, going house to house, no Twizzlers.
How did you wean yourself off of Twizzlers, man?
It was tough. You get addicted to that red number 5, yellow. It's just a crazy combination. And then you mix it in with like some psychedelics and stuff like
Well,
that.
that's what I heard. The different color
You
ones
were,
now
you
that
were
came out.
not. Please tell me you were not taking Twizzlers with Mike and Ike's.
No, we mixed it with
Pixie sticks?
like Good and Plenty, stuff like that. There was a rough time. It was
It's the white ones are fine. It's some purple ones that really knock you
they
down.
get to you.
Yeah, you take the
They
purple
take you
one.
right
and
down
you
the
do it.
rabbit hole, and if you can't handle it,
Yeah. Well, I heard you used to get those Necco wafers.
Oh.
And then pretend it was communion. And place it on your tongue.
we used to have mock masses and kind of disrespectful.
Dave-
Well, that was going to be the title of our second album, and I forgot about that because you reminded me of our first album title.
Mock Mass.
Yeah, that Mock Masses was to be the second album title. Do you remember that? I think the brothers and the sisters at Mooney.
I do.
Put a kibosh on that.
It was supposed to be released, like March 3rd or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was the day after the first record. We were going to hit him again with the second record, and it got kiboshed.
I also
Dave-
had rumors of a Christmas album, which never.
No. I mean,
I think it was Hanukkah.
we were
We're going to do a Hanukkah
Kwanzaa
record.
song.
Correct.
I think
Catholic boys do
Twisted
Hanukkah.
Sister stole our idea. They ended up getting the
Many years
holiday.
later, yeah.
it's
we
the
were all
Christmas
good
album
with
first.
we were all good with doing like a Christmas album, if I remember correctly. And Pat Budd was just like, "Nah, I'm not doing that."
Yeah, well, that's why he left Mooney, because he decided religion and Christianity was actually non-Toad-like. Toads didn't believe in it. He saw it before we did and left.
Now left or asked to leave.
I think he was escorted out.
Well, I
but,
think he tried to
Details.
voice his. Yeah, it was a small detail.
We won't go into
Well,
that.
Mike, I mean, Dave was telling me, Mike, that like you recently got involved with some person that's like fascinated with sucking toes or something like that. Like, dude, like you're telling me you're clean, but you
I
got
don't
people
know how,
sucking your toes. What the hell?
I don't
man?
know. No, just washing.
Just washing
Oh,
them.
yeah,
What is she, a cat?
Yes. Like I said, I don't know where this information is coming from.
Teen
I read
Beat.
it online. It must be true.
Well, again, that's an issue that I'll have to speak with my publicist about.
I've also heard Pat Budd's been trying to get a biography of you guys out, and you've been blocking it.
Well, that's because Pat, his hair was the tallest, right?
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
And I think all the chemicals in stiff stuff has altered his mental facilities.
Like Sid Barrett a little.
Wasn't that why they pulled it off the market?
Yeah, probably. I don't think
Well, I
he
think
might have been.
I actually heard Pat bought stock in that company, like as a main shareholder of that
Probably.
company.
And then it failed immediately.
Could have been.
As soon as grunge came out, nobody used hairspray anymore. I think it went down the hill.
Well, that's why grunge came out. You couldn't buy it because Pat had it all.
Well, you're right. I forgot.
But you are Gothic Toad, and one thing I was going to do, you can talk about whatever you want, so toss a topic out for a second if you want.
Wow.
It's just so
Anything you want.
Well, how much time do you have? Because
Yeah.
No,
I got to be I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, so
oh, we'll have you back in other...
I got. I mean, wow. What would we talk about? I will say this. Kudos to both of you guys for getting 3 of us here. That's a feat in itself. Knowing that I was going to do this, I probably spent 3 weeks really dealing with a therapist to open up some really, open wounds about this.
channeling.
But
your
I
toadness.
think it's been good for me, so I definitely appreciate.
We'll have you
the
guys
invite.
on again
Yeah,
for other
I
stuff.
definitely appreciate the invite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's hard to go back to the swamp as a toad once you've left it, and I think we're heading back, hopping very slowly. But
Yeah, I mean we're like.
Well, this is
tadpoles
the
at one
rarity.
point.
Like when we end the episode, we usually play a music, but you guys won't let us play
No.
one.
no, and I have a CD for you of our recordings, but cannot be played in public.
I've heard
at
that.
all.
It's like I saw the disclaimer on that. like I'm in
I
trouble.
glimpsed
Dave's
upon
coming to
it
the house.
from my perch over here, and that was it.
Is there added features on there from download as well?
Better not.
Do you
be,
mean
man.
feedback?
Feedback. I'm sorry.
Feedback.
I had
You have
a
to understand
momentary lapse
feedback
of-
for a minute. This was his side project briefly.
I do
Well,
have
me
some
and Rob,
feedback.
Me and Rob.
Yeah.
Feedback is not on this disc just because we are one is Toad.
Yes.
Feedback was a far to the left
Side
side
notes.
project, and
Yes.
But I do have some of that.
The awesome
Way less
vocals
superior.
of Dan Bacosa.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother story. Dan and Ron.
that we
and
don't
that
have
whole-
enough time for
You know what?
today.
Yeah, okay, here's a quick topic. I don't know how much time we got, but here's what really, really bothered me, right? So we go and you know, the school had us audition. Like, Gothic Toad, we got to audition? I don't want to sound egotistical or
right.
anything, but what the fuck, really?
That's right.
So before us playing is this band Feedback, and they're playing, you know, they play their one tune, and next thing you know, they're playing a second song, and I'm like, what the fuck's up with this? They told us only one tune. Now I get it's the Toad, right?
We
In
had
that
three.
one
We had
Toad,
3 set up ready to go.
yeah, but we were told one song, and we get like us playing one song is like being at Woodstock, like saying you were at
they couldn't
Woodstock.
have handled more than one.
You can't, right?
No. Weren't
But
ready
I'm
for it.
all about what's right and what's fair. And Dave, like, we get up there and Dave's like, stop. Do not play a single note. And then you got the nuns and the brothers like, what's going on? If they're going to play, we got to need to hear. Then they're going to play 2 songs like everybody else. And by the way, they're going to have they're going to close the show out.
Oh, hell no.
And it was just, to see somebody just tear apart a nun.
It's
Just
not
rip-
fun.
Like I don't care.
Mercilessly.
I don't care what habit you're wearing. I don't care if you know the Pope personally. I mean, he was going
But
off.
correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't that literally piss somebody off?
Oh, massively. Yeah, that's a different story though. Yeah.
That involved some
Dude,
type of
dude, my
urinating down a
anger
stairwell after school.
rained down a.
Yes, and that's part of the special features on the Toad DVD coming out sometime in the future.
But you can only
Don't
watch
know
these
when, though,
privately, though. But I know the shirt's going to be made down the line, which is amazing and stuff. And of course, you have all design, right? You know, you're going to do them.
Yeah,
yourself.
we've been thinking about bringing back our first tour shirt, jersey, whatever.
And you could be on our page, and we can help you with the page and everything. The only thing I think it'll crash the computer because of the legs.
That's the thing. I mean,
You guys need to have a really strong server. I'm
I'm
telling
gonna
you,
have
the
to hack
moment it
NASA.
gets out that we're like,
we're gonna have to hack NASA servers to.
you might have to. I mean, the problem that you're going to have is the moment you start promoting, and I'm just throwing this out there, but the moment you start promoting that you had 3 members of Gothic Toad and their manager on your podcast,
Facebook will
God.
crash.
YouTube,
Yeah.
Facebook.
I mean, people talk about breaking the internet. No, literally, we will break the
Well,
internet will fall apart.
But you know, you see lately over like the last year, YouTube and everybody's been censoring all these conspiracy theory people. I think they're just making room for us.
That's what it is. They're
be.
starting to clear out the
Well,
bandwidth
well,
because
yes,
they're going to
okay.
need it.
I think so.
Let me clear up a big misnomer, false rumor. Back in 1999, there was this big thing about, when it turns the year 2000, everything's going to crash. That was the federal government, like, trying to make sure that, like, everything was going to be, like, people understood, like, what was really coming. Because we actually, in 1999, in December, we thought about doing a show.
Yep.
And it got out.
That's right.
And
You're preparing everybody.
next thing you know, it was like,
Y2K.
everything's gonna.
Yeah,
It was
Toad
Y2. It
Toad
wasn't
2K.
Y2K, man. It
Well,
was
there's been a
us.
couple examples of
was
that.
I'm telling you,
was
Toad
Toad
2K, the
Toad
Mayan
2K.
calendar in 2012.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say that. I was
That's-
just going to say that.
Yeah.
2012, the Mayan calendar with the end of the world.
Could have sparked the end of the world.
And that's what that crazy chick in New York, that AOC brought, is. She's saying the world's going to end in 12 years.
Right.
That's probably the next rumored.
Yeah, I want to know who talked to her about like things.
It
we were
was
talking
not
about
me.
doing, man.
Who leaked that?
That was
Somebody
not
leaked
me.
that. That's not good.
Yeah, heads are going to roll for that slippage. I'm telling you right
Like
now.
it's bringing like really bad vibe and juju to the world, man. And we try to avoid that stuff.
Yeah.
We're all about peace,
Positive.
love, happiness. Yeah, really try to be positive. about
Positoad.
this.
Yeah, Posito.
Positodity.
But this is very positive, and this is just the biggest podcast ever.
I mean,
That's because we're here.
where do we go from here? We have to wrap it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't think there's anywhere to go because it would just blow my mind. Let
I
alone
mean, yeah,
everybody else's.
mind blown.
Yeah.
And Fire Tom.
That's
went
why I
up.
have to wear the hat. If I didn't have my hat on, my head would explode into the ceiling and too much information.
Telling you, man. I mean, Beethoven himself would have to come back to even come close. And it
He's
ain't
my
gonna happen.
neighbor, though. I mean, he lives next door.
Oh, Freddie?
yeah,
Yeah, nice guy.
good guy.
Yeah.
I channel him once in a while.
That's good. Yeah. As long as our Twizzlers aren't part of the channeling.
No, it can't.
No, he's moved to the Great Value brand. It's the methadone of candy.
Well, the real problem is like when he went down this path. I mean, he was paying full price.
Right.
But now you got these dollar stores.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Like forget it.
Now
man.
it's
That's-
like
Give away secrets.
you can't swing a dead tadpole without hitting some sort of Twizzler product.
he's
amazing.
I mean, I'm shocked he's here.
Just don't give the location of the dollar store he goes to, otherwise.
Otherwise, that dollar
He's the
store will
only
be no
one that's
longer.
making a profit.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll literally take the foundation.
Yeah. I think they could probably charge $2 instead of $1, but
It would be,
still
it'd be the $2.99 store.
right.
And I think of that.
Yeah. But on
Well,
that,
you guys, thanks a lot.
yes, thank you for
we'll
that.
have you guys back.
It's time to go. I need a tab and jack.
Well, I thought you had some Toad forgeries out there to go, go after.
After.
Yeah.
But on that, yes, we are sponsored, and this episode brought to you by Upsitnik and Associates, lawyers for you, the people, in Gothic Toad. From all points, from Alaska to the Supreme Court. Find them on Facebook, Upsitnik and Associates. Find them online, upsitnikslaw.com. Keep an eye out for Gothic Toad.
Be Positoad.
Be Positoad. And,
Gotta trademark that
yeah, trademark.
Well, our attorney.
Patent pending.
I'm
Patent
on
pending.
it.
Patent pending.
before Gene Simmons gets at it.
And keep your head above the water when you're swimming.
As
Gentlemen,
Toads do.
it's been an honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Good luck with you handling your server. By the
I
way.
know I'm gonna have to call in some favors from a few people on this one, but when it gets uploaded, my computer may literally melt on the table. So we will see what happens. And thank you again, Rob.
Thank you.
Got anything to close?
What can you say?
Exactly. What can you say?